Hello and welcome into the SorareData show. I'm Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdinho on Sorare. Today, joined by Ryan Haber, 1/3 of the Sorare Ramble. Also, Itshaber Sorare on YouTube, I believe. Ryan,
That is
hello.
that is true. You know how like 1/3 is 33.33 recurring? Well, actually, I'm 34% of the Sorare Ramble, and they're
Ooh.
both 33. I'm the upper third, so
Fair
1%,
enough.
baby.
Thanks for coming. This is really a topic that you came up with on our show last week. Was that last week? Yeah, last week
Wednesday,
with
yeah.
Nep. And it's something that we all have thought about and we haven't talked about enough because, well, it's actually two parts. But the one that really got me was how we were talking about people, and we have experienced this. I don't want to say like other people feel this way, but like we've experienced this kind of, uh, I think embarrassment was the word that you used last week. And we've kind of developed it into shame or whatever other words we can use about deals that we do and people comment about it and we feel bad about it. And you were kind of like, why are we letting these people make us feel any way about our cards and our money and our decisions? And I sat on that show and I was like, my gosh, he's totally right. And that's what we're here to talk about today.
It's a great topic, because I didn't realize until I said that quite how many people felt the same way. I thought it was just me until you brought it up, and then I said what I said. But I've had DMs and tweets from so many people since then, like saying how much they relate to that point. And I didn't realize. I thought originally it was actually me being embarrassed because of how many times I've been scolded by Sean. So like he's like the guy in the back of my head I'm always scared about getting scolded by. But apparently we all have Sean in our lives.
That it is just like this thing that is over overhanging us all the time of just if you've done something that even whether you feel it's dumb or not or somebody else, and if it ever comes up you feel like you have to justify it, and but also no, realistically nobody cares. People are like, you talk about some deal you do, somebody was like, man, that was dumb, and you were like, yeah, it really was, and they move on and they're just like, it has no bearing on them, and you're sitting there like, my god, that was so dumb, I can't believe I did that. Now what should I do to get out of this? And it's it's just very strange what we put ourselves through. I feel like this is the part of the podcast where I'm like, neither of us are like psychologists or like we have no degrees in mental well-being, but I think it's maybe easier for us to, just the way that we kind of live our own lives, that we can say, just don't let it bother you, and it doesn't bother us. But it sometimes you just need to hear that from other people.
Oh, there's nothing I hate more than when somebody that I see as having it being in a way better scenario than me telling me, oh yeah, oh don't worry about that. Or don't worry about this. Like my biggest pet peeve is those millionaires on like TikTok and stuff that are like, if you're in a job you hate, just quit. All right, buddy, who's paying my rent? Right? Where am I getting food from? And it feels when we say stuff like, oh, just have fun on Sorare or don't worry about what other people think, it feels very much like that. And I know there'll be people watching that are in a way less of a fun scenario and hear that and probably get frustrated by it. But just don't care what people think, guys. You know,
Not just in Sorare, really.
just
It
in
just
like, who
that goes,
cares?
yeah, all in life. The whole like quit your job really would come from a place with the two of us who probably enjoy our jobs more than most people tend to.
Yeah.
So we're not here to tell you that. Go pay your
Guys,
bills. It's
if
okay.
you don't talk about Sorare for a living, just quit your job.
Just
Like,
quit.
just quit. And we don't have enough podcasts yet, so you can have the Sorare Ramble 2.0. Apparently, SorareData decided to do that recently with their new logo.
That's right. That's right.
I said I would do that.
Vita's here says maybe it's the cat, but it says Sean's looking pretty sexy tonight.
And
So
on that
Sean's
note,
usually here on Monday.
I'm going to go, guys. On that note, I'm leaving. Come on, man.
The most comparative of that there is the just spend more money. Not everyone can. There you go.
That's
There you
true.
go.
That me and Laird
Sean
have
says
actually
just
ranted
spend more
about that.
money. And Haber and I are here saying quit your job and don't make any money. So that's the
that combination is the quickest way to homelessness. Wanting to liberate yourself and live on the streets, right? Quit your job and spend more money on Sorare. That's the perfect way.
Yeah.
That is the perfect way.
JPEGs will keep you warm. Now that we're a few minutes in, thanks for everyone for coming in. Sam Baines first in, Scott and Kev Hurd on the podium as well. So Haber and I went through some of our old transactions, and it was mostly an exercise in, boy, this was really bad. But Haber, as I was going through it, and I actually sent a message to Gator Guy while I was doing this, and I told you I had to say something about it. And going through my old transactions, and I started like 3 years ago, almost to the day actually of when I bought my first card. It is astonishing how much these cards used to cost.
I was thinking the same thing.
I was looking, and I sold limited cards, and I bought and sold limited cards of guys who I don't even remember for like hundreds of dollars. And I was like, what? I literally couldn't believe some of the numbers.
No, it really is astonishing. I saw the one that really sort of jumped out at me. I was looking down. I saw that I sold a Sven Combs for £60. I was like, oh, I must have won his rare. I have one in the galleries. Must have won his rare. It was just limited. And like £60 obviously like is not hundreds, but that is what his rare now costs. And back then, I think his rare was about 300-400. So it's like, and that's a tame example. There was a João Victor who I think has just moved back to Brazil. And he was one of the only consistent scorers in under 23 one year during the summer. I paid 1.8k for him. And I think he's worth about £50 now. Luckily, I think I'd sold him, there on after. But yeah, ridiculous.
It made me realize, and I feel like I've said this previously, and I didn't really appreciate it until I went through this, but the pushback that I give when people are like, they should have never introduced limiteds, is that the game was just too expensive at that time. And we had no definite idea that they were going to add, second division and all these other leagues. So like the supply was not enough for the users at the time. And looking back at some of these prices, I was like, I cannot believe, like, you can't sell a game like that where you're like, you have to go buy this unknown K-League midfielder for $1,200. The game doesn't work.
You're spot on. You're absolutely spot on. Like, and the one thing that I find that also to that point is that the mistakes that we made back then were so much more costly as well. So like, you'll look at a trade nowadays. If I did a trade with Pavel, maybe I go and buy a card worth $500 and I give him 20%, right? Yeah, I maybe have lost what, $50, $100 on that trade with Pavel at some point. Whereas these trades we were doing with Pavel 2 years ago, we were giving up hundreds of dollars, thousands sometimes if you're buying a big card. Like, and that's what was blowing my mind was I sent you a screenshot of one of them as how much money I was happy losing to get out of a card quickly to go buy another card. But that's how the market worked back like a couple years ago. Everything was like shit hot, quick, and you didn't mind losing genuinely hundreds. Now I don't want to give up a trade if I lose £10 in it. I'm actually pissed. But then I was happy to. I sent Laird a screenshot, guys, where on the 21st of September, I traded to Pavel for a Davy Roaf rare, and I lost probably about £200 in that trade. I then sold the same Davy Roaf rare the same day for £1,200. I don't know why, by the way. I have no idea why I did this. Sold him the same day for £1,200. So I've taken another like £100-200 loss. 5 days later, I bought Davy Roaf again for £1,300. Now £150 more than I just sold him for. And then 4 days after that, traded him away to Pavel again with 4 other cards for a Nicholas Hagel rare and probably lost another few £100 in that trade. I have no idea what I was doing. Oh, I do know what I was doing. List or play wasn't a thing, so you could sell cards and they stayed in your gallery, they stayed in your lineup.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing. Oh man, that's stupidity though. Probably lost £1,000 in 9 days from being an idiot.
And you don't even remember like why you got him or got rid of him.
No, probably didn't win rewards either.
Yeah.
Seriously, I probably did not win anything.
Yeah. ZM Star said that was the opposite of trading a button for a house. The one that got me as I was going through is that I sold a Ryan Gravenberch
Gravenberch, I think actually. I've heard Dutch pronounce it Gravenberch.
Okay. Ryan Gravenberch limited for $425. He never really played. Like he wasn't that great with Ajax, and then he went to Liverpool and he's just like just a guy. And why do you do that? Do you find that you and I actually have a very similar, I want to call it a history, but you may feel the same way still, because I kind of do, that rewards are cost free. That
Yes.
like the value of rewards is basically like your buy-in on rewards is zero.
Yes.
And so you're willing to trade them for almost anything.
Yeah.
So going back through these transactions, the first ones, like when you go back and you're like, what are some bad deals that you did? We all just go to our transactions, we search Pavel Trader, and we're like, they all come up. But one of the ones that came up to me were sold rewards. And granted, I've also traded plenty of rewards to Pavel. But I had one that I remember being furious when I won this card. It was a Nuno Mensch, I guess you say.
Yep.
Some would say Nuno Mendes. So I won him for like 10th in All-Star Rare Pro at the time. And I was just furious. Like I was like, this card is leaving as soon as possible. And I like struggled to sell it. And as soon as I sold it, it just skyrocketed. And this doesn't look that bad, this chart here, because it's like, here it is. And he moves up a little bit. But if you change it to ETH, which is basically what I did back then, it's like so I sold this on May 7th for 0.425. And basically 2 months later, he was 1.6.
Holy, was that because he basically moved to PSG?
Probably.
Because I feel like
no, I had a PSG
no,
card. So,
he was already
there.
at PSG. Why did he go up an ETH in 2 months? Because I don't remember him scoring that well at any point to warrant that. Maybe I don't see any scores there that I would see a card going up.
And you're like, I need to pay an ETH for that rare card. Yeah,
that's crazy. So the one thing I will say when I look back at when I sell cards and their value, right, is were you happy on the day with what you got?
You know what? This specific one, I wasn't, because I hated that card so much, and I was like, it's gone, whatever. And so no, but I'm glad you did bring that up, because how many of the trades do you think you would go back to all of your trades? And obviously, when we make the deals, we're happy with them.
Yeah.
Except for that like immediate moment of dread when Pavel accepts and you're like, oh God, what did I do?
I know that feeling.
You get a card you want. But looking back, you almost never feel great about it.
That feeling that you've just described, by the way, that little heart sink where you're like, because you think you're being an optimist by sending the trade, and then he accepts within 2 minutes, and then you're just like, oh shit.
Yeah, you think you misclicked.
Yeah, so the first thing you do is you check to make sure the offer was right that you sent. Then you're checking the values, and then you're seeing every possible scenario in your head and why it was a terrible idea. That feeling, that actually brought back PTSD. I actually felt that feeling as you said that. That was horrible. I don't think I can eat my dinner now because I feel a bit sick. That feeling, I know that all too well.
It's exactly it's not so much when you go back and forth, because then you know like how far away you are. It's that first one. It's the one and done.
Yeah.
Hey, Pavel, do you want these cards? Yes,
Yeah.
I do. Oh, no. what?
Yeah. A lot of the trades I look back at, and if I'm being honest, I actually don't have a huge amount of regrets. And that being said, if I could reverse most of them, I would, because I would be sort of on top value wise now. I definitely lost a lot of value. But I think a lot of the last 2 years for me has been such a learning experience and such a learning process that some of these trades have taught me so much about not just like Sorare in the market, but also patience within myself. And I think it's something Sean used to mock me on a lot, is that I just didn't have patience. If I saw a card I wanted, I had to get it straight away, like no matter what. And one of them, the funniest one, I think for me is I did a trade for a Vandervoort, right? I did it during the international break. I had 2 weeks. I did not need to get him on Friday of the international break starting because he didn't have a game for 2 weeks. And yet I still gave up a crap ton of value for that 2 week period. Nowadays, like, I will happily wait and wait and wait and be patient and wait for what I think the optimal time to buy a card is before I buy it, because I've sort of learned so much and been burnt so much that I think it's probably, and I don't think it's just so rare now as well. There'll be things in life, I think, later on where like I'll sort of be way more patient and be smarter about it because of getting done over by Pavel trades. So really, Pavel, like, he's kind of a, a good guy.
He's the life coach we didn't know we needed.
Exactly.
Vita says, "I'm not losing money, darling. I'm learning." Which I think
Exactly.
is a
Yeah.
great line. So I have not learned that it's okay to wait lesson enough. I just wait one day instead of minutes. But I do think, to go back to what you said of, you focus on a card you want. I think it really does depend on what you're looking for. So the two situations that made me think of were super rares and jersey mints. And if you're a collector and somebody posts a jersey mint on the market and you think you need it for your collection, you have to go quickly, because most likely anyone else looking to buy that card is someone you're competing with for the collection. And if they get the card, you're not getting it again. Like, it's a very illiquid situation, because it's only, theoretically, it's not really unique, but that's the card you need. The other one was super rares, where there are just not that many super rares of every player. So there's a possibility that maybe you've convinced yourself you need one, and one comes on the market and you're like, if anyone else wants this card, I got to move quickly. And sometimes you don't have to move quickly, but you do, because you just convince yourself that if you miss out, everything is ruined.
Okay, so perfect example of that second one, right? Katoze bought a gallery a few weeks ago that had a super rare Danilo from Juve. And that's a card I've wanted since I joined the platform. I used to run Chesney and Danilo. I think he's a really good scorer and a great card to have. Okay. But there aren't that many super rares, and most of them are owned by whales or people that aren't active on the platform anymore because Juve haven't been licensed for a couple of years. So when I saw Katoze had one and he listed it up, I messaged Katoze straight away and said, how much do you want for that card? Now he came back with an outrageous, like, he
As he
wanted
does.
a stupid amount of money that I just didn't want to pay. Old me would have paid it. Would have FOMO degen paid it because I just want the card. I've wanted the card for a long time. However, new me, I proposed an offer, got rejected, and said, you know what? I'm not going to go for it. I'm not going to, because the giving up that much value and giving up that much ETH just was not worth it. I think he wanted like an ETH for that card. And I don't know many super rares these days that are worth an ETH, let alone a Danilo super rare who's good, but not that good, you know? So, yeah, I feel like that's that's actually sort of, I've just lost the word now, an example of me learning from my old trades and my old mistakes.
Yeah, I did the exact opposite fairly recently. And again, it's almost like, at the time I knew nobody wanted it, and right now I know that nobody wants it, but I just needed to get it. And it was, I'm trying to look back here when I actually got this card. December 5th. So a little more than a month ago, I decided to buy, I was like holding a little ETH, and I decided to buy a Burger Mealing super rare. Now, at the time, I was like, maybe I should buy some MLS cards because it's like the market is low because they have a break. It's the off season. I can't use it for a while, but we'll see. I see this Burger Mealing super rare who comes back basically when MLS does and has less utility because they're towards the end of the season as opposed to literally smack in the beginning. But I was like, I want that card, and so I bought it, and I cannot use it. Like it's in academy lineups for 3 months but for some reason I convinced myself like I really wanted that card, and it was like if I miss out, then I won't be able to get it, which is definitely not true, but I did it anyway. And I don't think that there is like I'm not embarrassed that I got it, even though I feel like I'm sheepishly explaining why I did, but I could have waited. Easily could have waited, and that lesson I still have not learned that lesson. Like I know it, but I don't live it.
I think I've learned that lesson. I don't think I've fully learned that lesson because I think there are some cards that I would be an idiot and just go and pay whatever for. But I think I've learned that lesson a little bit more. I think the scoldings have definitely taught me that lesson as well. The Sean scoldings have taught me that lesson. And not just the Sean scoldings, actually. Do you know the ones that really actually get under my skin? It's really hard to get under my skin. But what really gets under my skin, right, is when I have a lineup or something like that, and I tweet it out, and maybe I've just sold a card at a stupidly low price, or I shouldn't have sold a card, or I shouldn't have done a trade. And whoever I got rid of scored really well, and whoever I had didn't score well. And there'll be someone that means no harm whatsoever, but they reply saying, if you didn't do that trade, like look at the score you'd have got. And that bugs me so much. When I swapped Griezmann and Doku, I think Doku put up a big score, and it was either Raul or someone else like replied with like a screenshot of Doku's score, and Griezmann hadn't played yet. And I was like, if Griezmann doesn't beat this fucking score this week, I'm gonna be so mad. I'm gonna be so angry. And it's all because you tweeted me that Doku scored that. It didn't mean any harm by it, just literally like just chatting so rare, but that does get under my skin a little bit, and that does make me feel a little bit. I don't know if rage, I think, is the word I'd use.
That's fair. That's fair. I feel this way that Bruzel here in chat said it's a scientific fact in my head that if I don't buy a card as soon as I want it, it will double in price the next day. That's what got me about this Mealing card, is that there was nothing that could happen. He was injured too, by the way. Might still be injured. But there was nothing realistically that could happen that would have made that card more expensive, or to the point where I wouldn't have bought it. And I just like jammed it through anyway for no reason.
Yeah, 100%. I think that we might be stuck in a bit of a old mindset as well with that, because I think the exact same way with cards like that, where I'm worried that the card's going to go up in price. Cards don't go up anymore. If anything, cards go down. So really, like what we need to be training our brain to do is say, I'm not buying that card. It's going to be half the price tomorrow. Really, it should be the other way around. But I feel the same way. It's that FOMO. FOMO is one of the biggest killers in Sorare. One of the biggest value killers in Sorare is FOMO.
So to counter that a little bit, it depends on the situation, obviously. And my Mealing example actually doesn't fit into this. But in addition to FOMO, there is an appreciated loss of utility if you don't buy a card. Like the longer you don't own a card, the fewer opportunities you have to use that card. And that also like leads to the other issue when you're like, I need to start making money off this card. So you put it in lineups it shouldn't go in, and you're just ruining lineups anyway. But I think there is, maybe it's just like justifiable FOMO, where just that, if you're like, man, if I had that card, I would have done better. And if you had that card, like you would have been able to start using that card and being able to like collect from those. But your whole like cards don't go up reminded me, Gator Guy said that to me recently. I was looking for, I don't even want to say who the player was because I'll just get myself in trouble. But I was like, I feel like he's too expensive. And he was like, yeah, just wait a week and he'll be 20% less. And I was like, yeah, but it's not going to be that bad. And he's like 40% less. It was actually worse than that. But yes, I didn't get the the utility from it, I would have messed it up anyway. But yeah, it does seem like you have to play the game differently now, just with the expectation that if you buy a card, it probably will not be worth more than when you bought it.
Let me ask you this scenario as well. Has this ever happened to you? Because it's happened to me a lot, where you have a card that you want to buy, right? You don't buy it yet, and that weekend he rips 100 points, and you then don't want to buy it because you're like, he ain't doing that back to back. He's not gonna score another hat trick. What is the point in me buying it now? I'll wait for him to get a few 35s, then I'll buy it when he's primed and ready to drop another 100. That happened to me with Sane, this super rare Sane. That's why I didn't buy it for so long, because I wanted to buy it. Sean bought the one that I was going to buy, and then he went on this insane heater. Him and Kane just linking up for every goal Bayern scored for 3 months. And I was just like, and every time he scored a big score, I'm like, knowing what Sane's like, he can drop a 40 or a 50. So I was like, surely if I buy him now, next week he'll drop a 50. So if I wait for him to drop a 50, then buy him, I'm like, the odds somehow work. I don't understand the maths. It just doesn't make sense, but it's how my brain works for some reason.
I said saying cards don't go up is just dumb. Like, we're obviously being a bit facetious when it comes to what we're describing. So yes, not financial advice. The Sane one is interesting because it's a very clear example of you weren't buying him just for the next few weeks. And so most of the situations where we buy cards, we do it expecting to have a year or two with them, which is really long time for me. Like, I don't have a lot of cards that I hold that long, but yeah, you get in, they get on a heater and you're just like, oh, I'll just wait. And it's like, but if you had planned on using this card for a long time, you waiting is just missing out. I mean, it is literal FOMO, or no, literal missing out. So
Mo.
But yeah, you just it doesn't make sense. Never mind. Just no.
That should be a thing now. Just missing out. Oh, you just mowed, mate.
You just mowed.
That happens as well with me in rewards. Like the opposite way, not selling because a card's on a heater. I won a Olsen from your favorite Midtjylland, and I won a Igor Postionski from Varazdin in Croatia.
Yep, Croatia, yeah.
Both of them I won as tier 2s because both were on big heaters and scoring really well. Didn't sell either of them because I'm like, well, just keep going. It's clearly he's just he was bit by a spider and he's turned into Lionel Messi is what's happened here. So he's gonna keep going and going and going, and then they don't, and you realize that you could have sold it for 200 and now he's worth 60, and you're just like, yeah, sick man. Well done, Ryan. Idiot.
Speaking of cards I bought recently that I really did not need to buy right now, an Olsen super rare.
That's such a good card. Well, I say that. Is it actually that good of a card these days? Sorry, I'm trying to.
Are there any good cards left? Are there any good cards left, Ryan?
No, actually, to be fair, he is a really good card because he's finally started to figure out how to get decisives again. He scored some big scores in his last 2 games. It is a nice card, actually. I do like that card.
I hope so. Chani said, still remember winning Sesko, which there's definitely a silly way to say his name, when he was so expensive and didn't move him on early enough like a moron. So that was, isn't that who Alistair from Sorare Down Under won?
I know Nep won a Sesko. Nep won a Sesko, I think it was the year before last. It might have been last year in the summer when there was like 2 leagues back, and he just happened to have that Dennis Vavro super rare killed it for him, and he had a couple of the cards, and he won a Sesko, and Sesko was like 3 or 4 grand, like a lot. And I'm not even kidding. I was like, Nep, please sell that card. Nep, he will go down. I promise you, sell that card. And Nep's like, nah, man, nah, he's the best youngster. Have you not seen what Salzburg do? He's the best youngster ever. In Nep's deep voice, like, he'll be double.
Isn't even close.
What's up, guys? Nepenthes here. He'll be double that. He's like the next youngster to break out. Look at Haaland. That was what and Sesko's like. I think people pay you to get their Sesko these days. So
that was one that always got me, that I never understood the huge excitement about him. Brazil was pointing out, it was Lucas Sucic, who Sorare down on, who was probably the same player, same type of player.
I would
some sort of Red Bull something or other that everybody thinks will be great one day.
I won him and sold him as well.
What's that?
I won Sukic, whatever his name is, and sold him actually straight away for a high value.
So speaking of cards you sold out of that turned out well, Marlon, your boy.
Let's go. Yep.
I think my favorite thing about you selling that card was the fact that you went through and actually did the research of watching him play and being like, he is not scoring what he's scoring. Like something is wrong here.
There was, so me and Laird we have like 3 or 4 Discords that we're both in, and in one of them I can't remember which one it was, but I remember saying like, I'm watching this guy Marlon for the first time. I sat down and watched Cruzeiro, and he had like 25 AA in 20 minutes. That dude had not touched the ball. I'm not kidding. He had not touched the ball. I don't know if there was a guy that looked similar to him in the Cruzeiro team or something, but that guy hadn't touched the ball. And I was like, he's scoring these scores. Is this real? Is this real life? So I watched like another game after that, and he scored like, it was that heater, that insane heater at the start on the left there. Another one, he'd scored like 80, 90 points off of AA alone. And I was like,
well, I was going to say, this is 73.5 AA.
Yeah, well, that's what was astonishing. And I didn't understand how he was doing it. So I actually used him in a trade with Pavel, and got really good value out of it. So I ended up getting out of that card, and then his heater ended. But it was just so weird. Like, I've never seen anything like it. I just didn't understand where the scores were coming from.
Let's see what that trade was 6 months ago. Do you remember what the trade was?
It was for a Krem Actacoglu super rare, and I think, so I sent him 0.6 ETH and Marlon, which he valued at 0.4 at the time. Was not a 0.4 card, but there was not a lot of rares. I think there's only 35 rares on the whole platform at the time, or something like that. And I'd actually won Marlon as well. So funnily enough, I won
right now. Yeah.
If you go back onto my actual card, it will show you the position I won Marlon in back when he just left Ankaraguchu. Oh no, it won't show you the position I'm in. Never mind. It will do it on my. I can find it on my page real quick. But I think it was All-Star Rare. He just left Ankaraguchu and he was going for about $15, and then he signed for Cruzeiro and went that Hisa. So it was incredibly lucky. I wish I could take credit for being smart, but I wasn't. It was just luck.
Scouting him.
Yeah, I wish. I don't do that. There you go. Who's
falling here?
389th in All-Star.
There he is. Yeah, tier 3.
Yeah, and that was back when tier 3s were like tier 5s now, I think. So
Braden said, that's how I feel every time I watch Fernando Calero from Espanyol. So I want a Calero. Maybe he's my Marlon.
He could be.
But this guy, so admittedly, I've never seen this guy play. I know that's shocking to you. But yeah, he has some really good scores. And I was just like, okay. But I believe it. Kevert said, I think that was smart, Haber. You got rid because he failed the eye test and it was an inflated price.
There you go.
Is that even like, so was he like, I don't know, is that really the eye test? I feel like the eye test is like, this guy is good at football, as opposed to this Opta guy is actually just cheating.
Yes, but well, I guess it's kind of like, well, I guess if he failed the eye test, then I suppose
that's true.
Yeah, because he didn't. Yeah. So, although I did think of that before, right? Do you think there's people out there in Opta that ever fiddle with the stats a little bit?
Surely.
But maybe what we don't know is Nanzo actually works at Opta, and that's how all of his All-Star Rare Plus teams just so happen that this random guy we've never heard of gets 100 points that week. The matchup was crazy. That's what it was. Nanzo's just there like, oh, another final third pass. The ball's in the net of his opponent right now. Like they've just conceded, and he's like, final third pass 2.
In fairness, I think we all know that we've all heard of Nanzo's cards. We know.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, I couldn't think of anyone on the spot.
Guy failed a different eye test, which I think there we go. It's all come full circle. So what did you go back to any of your transactions and you were like, I actually nailed that one? Like I nailed it back then and I still nailed it here?
Oh, there was a few, but there was a few, but I didn't bring I don't have them up because I only have the bad ones
Right.
up.
Well,
Um,
I had one that I remember when I made the deal. Um, this was the card. So Hulk was one of the Hulk was like a unicorn card for me. Like it took me forever to be able to get enough cards to get a Hulk. And I remember when I did this deal, I was like, Bruno Lamas was a reward, Cifuentes was a reward, and Borjo was a card that I bought because I was like, I'm going to compete in Champion Europe, and he was my best player. And very quickly, I was like, I cannot compete in Champion Europe if this is my best player. But there was a time where Cifuentes got super expensive.
yeah, I remember that. I wanted one so bad.
0.6.
He was just ripping ridiculous scores.
Yeah, he was.
Him, Palacios as well. We're like the under 23 link up of dreams right there for LAFC.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was. Yep. So he went on a heater, and then so at one point, like the cash plus floors on this trade was like 1.5 ETH, and at the time Hulk was like zero point 0.2, and I was like, this is the worst trade in the history of Sorare. And I look back now, and cash plus averages right now is literally $8 different,
Oh yeah,
which
I
is
have some
wild.
of those. I have some of those that are like that now. Yeah. Like if I linked you a page, would it actually open up the exact page I link you, like a transaction page?
It should.
So if I'll link you this on Discord real quick.
Yeah.
This was the first one that came to mind for me, right? And this is the one I'm talking about where I did this on a Friday at the day one of international break, right? And you can already tell by valuation on that day how darn horrendous this was. So Mane was a reward. I'd won Champion Europe Rare, my first ever win. And do you know what? I wasn't even upset with Mane. Do you know why I got rid of Mane so quickly? I'm not kidding. It's because Sean was messaging me saying, Mane sucks. Mane's the worst card to own. He's awful. You should get rid of that card straight away. And me being the emotional wreck that I am 99% of the day, started panicking. And I was like, I have to get rid of this card. And this was the Saturday after. So it was on Saturday, not a Friday. So this is the day after I'd won the card. And I'm like panicking. I'm like an emotional wreck right now. I'm like, I have to get rid of this card. So originally he was going for about 2,500 at the time, or I think like 2 ETH or something at the time. And I'd offered it to Harry Trades at first for a card that was worth like 1 ETH, and he actually rejected it. I think Sean was in his ear about how bad Mane was as well. So like he rejected it, and I shit you not, it was like looking back at it, it was a horrendous offer to send to Harry in the first place, and it was a blessing he didn't accept it. It was like I think I'd offered it for like a Carlos Cuesta super rare. It was a terrible trade. So then I was like, I still have to get rid of this card. And Sean was also telling me how great Gengar, so I just went for Vandervoort and I sent him, and those valuations are accurate. I genuinely sent him about $6,000 in cards for a $3,000 card, and yeah, felt awful about it for ages.
So
But hey, it worked out.
I remember when you did this deal because that's where the conversation kind of started between us of our
Haber's a moron. Yeah.
no. It's our like how do you value your own rewards if you don't want them? And
Yes.
you kind of admitted, maybe not this drastically, but you basically admitted that that Mane card to you was worth 0.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, or was the difference between Hadel and Vandevort, which I think there was a time where those two were closer in value than they probably should have been. And maybe it was then, I don't know. And obviously, Mane, what he's done since then makes this deal look perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But I remember this one. And you got the card you wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. I was, well, it's out in the end. Um, yeah, no, it was terrible. I felt awful about it. And I think like The thing I felt awful about was, first of all, I had to wait 2 weeks for Van der Voort to then play again. And I'm not kidding. From then, I think Genk went on their longest run without a clean sheet in history. I remember. So I bought rare Van der Voort, super rare Mark McKenzie, super rare Carlos Cuesta for a Genk defensive stack. They kept one clean sheet from me ever owning them, and having them playing together. It finally happened. They were against the bottom of the league at home, and they actually smashed. And I think I came like 12th or 13th in under 23 rare plus, a rare pro back then. But the problem was that like it wasn't worth it in the end. I was playing for this 1 week to keep the clean sheet, and it just wasn't worth it because I think I won Jadon Sancho, and he was worth like £300 because it was like a tier 2, I think, at the time. And it was like it just wasn't worth it in the end. So every week they didn't keep a clean sheet, I felt worse about that horrific trade because I was just thinking in my head, if I'd have just sold them and waited, I could have got Van der Voort and then like 3 more cards as well. But so whenever and the other worst part about it was whenever I then wanted another card after that, all I could think of in my head was, if I'd have just sold them, I'd have the ETH right now to buy that card, and I'd still have Van der Voort. So that one genuinely haunted me for about 3 months.
Did you get to a point where you were like, I'm not going to trade anymore like this?
Yes. I can't remember what trade it would have been. But there was a point where I realized after every trade, it's going to sound so stupid, but like, I know I sound dumb when I say this. Obviously, you give up a percentage every trade, but because I was doing it in cards, I wasn't actually seeing the percentage I was giving away. Because it's not like you give away $. It's not like you give up $200. It's in value of the cards. So I was doing that, and then a day later, I'm seeing my gallery valuation go down a couple hundred. I'm like, why is my gallery valuation going down so much? So after a while, it clicked in my head that I'm giving up 20% of the value in these trades, and that's what's bringing the gallery valuation down. So whilst it's not liquid cash I'm losing that unrealized value. And when I realized that, I was like, okay, I'm going to stop doing these dumb trades because I'm giving up 20% of these cards for nothing. For another card, yeah, sure, I might want that card, but it's not worth me giving up 20% every time. I'll just sell these cards and buy the card, because often people will accept less than floor for the card anyway. So you're buying it for a less percentage than. So I don't remember exactly when that was. It wouldn't have been too long after that trade, but I still do trades as well. I still will do trades, but I'll do trades where it's like ETH plus a player, because often you don't give up anywhere near as big a percentage. And also, like, there are some players that I will tactically give up. If I see a card sell quite high, for example, I'll give up that card after it's sold quite high, because that's the valuation they're going to take from it. You know what I mean? So yeah, and the Marlon was a good example of that one too. So
yeah, I think it's also just a reminder that our cards probably aren't worth as much as we think they are. Like the 20% haircut sounds drastic, but when realistically, if the floor price of the card is theoretically what that card is worth, but it's not actually even worth that, because if somebody wanted it, they would have paid that.
Yeah.
I just went through and found this other deal that I made, and this was another example of a weird like how we convince ourselves that something is different than it actually is. So this Reynoso card, for those listening, I traded rare Larius Mabiala and Emmanuel Reynoso plus 0.025 ETH, which was apparently about $95, for a super rare of a player named Mark Vandermarl. And at the time, it was probably a really bad card, actually. I don't even know why I'm trying to justify. Was this guy ever good? It was probably right after his 100. And so I was like, yeah, this guy's good. But I then sold this Vandermarl, and this is the proof of, where is that part of the transaction here? Eventually sold him for 0.22, so $925, which again, who is this guy? And at one point his super rare was worth almost $1,000. But I think I got this Reynoso card like too cheaply. I don't know if it was like an auction glitch or something, but like it was like almost one of the lowest ever purchased. As you can see, I own 2 of them. And so I was like, I got this cheap. So it's not really worth this much. It's just worth somewhere around here. And yet, so I was willing to give it out, probably for not as much, because like I bought it for cheap. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it does make sense. I'm the same as well, where like if I've had a card that I've owned for a while and picked it up cheap and it's gone up, I'm happy to take a haircut on that card because I'm like, well, I'm making profit anyway. So
Right.
I'll give up a bit of profit. And then I'm like, why? Why am I doing that?
Why?
Yeah, exactly. Why? So I'll give you one that I felt embarrassed about because I was an idiot rather than it being a trade and losing value, right? Because I was a moron and did no research. So Nahuel Guzman from Tigres, the goalkeeper, he is suspended for 3 games.
Yeah.
Now I thought it was 1 game because he got 2 yellows, but what actually was he'd argued with the officials and got a further 2-game ban.
Did you see what he actually did?
No, I didn't.
So the extra 2 games is because he went behind the goal into like a little like bunker and covered himself with like a tarp and watched the rest of the match from like underneath the tarp on the pitch.
That's
like
funny.
right behind the pitch.
That's quite funny. He is a character, to be fair
He
to
is.
him. He
Yes.
really is a character. So I thought it was a 1-game suspension. So I picked him up during the latest Sorare Ramble, right? Because they were making me FOMO Mexico so bad. So I picked him up. Then after the Ramble, I then realized it was a 3-game suspension and not a 1-game suspension. So I Basil botted him an hour later. And I just felt like an absolute idiot. And the reason why I Basil botted him, even though he's still a good keeper to own, and like I could have just waited the 3 games, is because by the end of the 3 games, you almost have MLS back. You have Argentina back. I don't need another goalkeeper. It was literally only to get ahead of it for a little bit, for to get ahead of the Americas coming back by buying a Mexican keeper for like a couple games. And yeah, so that was just dumb. That was really dumb.
Is. That's him hiding.
That's funny. That is really funny.
Johanneton, there. If you literally just search Nahuel Guzman hiding. Together. So he's supposed to leave the pitch because he just got sent off. But instead, he goes into this little bunker here. Yeah. And they pull the tarp over him. That's all.
Yeah, I was annoyed by that because, like, at first I thought I'd missed that it was a straight red. And then, because I remember Nep saying Nep missed out on Super Air Threshold that week because he got a second yellow, then the red.
Oh.
And he was saying if he had just got a straight red, he would have got the threshold. But the 3 points of getting a yellow card was the reason why he missed out. And so that stuck in my brain. And that's why I thought it was 2 yellows and a red. And actually, I should have just done a bit of research. And that's happened a few times. I've made some dumb deals by not doing research before. But yeah, so that's one that happened quite recently that I just feel like an idiot about.
Pablo says apparently they do this all the time in Argentina, which I don't know. Nanza said that's why I have no unique goalkeeper next game week. Guzman's an idiot.
Facts. Yeah. Definitely not me. I'm not an idiot. Guzman is. It's his fault, really.
Yeah, it's not us. So you sent it to Basil for a card, or did you just sell it?
ETH. Yeah, I sent Basil a little bundle of what did I send him? Where are you, Basil? Yeah, I sent him a few cards. I sent him a Marcinho, Guzman, Ohashi, and Stojanovic rare bundle, and he gave me like £100 less than what they're worth. But I was just like, the only reason why I actually did that, it's not. I could have just been patient and sold them. Do you know what I've been getting a lot lately? It's just like all the offers I get at the moment are just cards. I never get ETH offers, and it's just so like it's obviously one of those like first world problems, whatever. But like it's or third. I can't remember which ones are we in the. I don't really know.
First.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. So like it it's obviously one of those first world problems, but it's just so annoying getting a notification saying I got an offer. And then if I'm not on my PC, opening up my laptop or going on the web app on my phone to then see it's somebody offering me 16 super rares I haven't played in 44 years and, you know, whatever for a card that's good. So I'm just like, oh, whatever. I'll just get some ETH off Basil. I had a plan for it anyway. So
The ones that get me are the card and trade, or excuse me, card and it's never ETH. It's always cash. And that drives me nuts too. Like I don't want to go full ETH maxi here, but every time I get an offer in cash, I'm like, I'd prefer ETH. But anyway, are the ones where let's say it's a $100 card and they offer you $90 on a card they think is worth $10 that's actually worth zero. And it's like, we're almost there, but we don't actually
it's one of those things as well where like you can tell with a lot of these the offers as well, it's people that either have realized quickly their cards are not worth what they think they are, so they've put together like a 4-man bundle to like make it seem like it's a great deal for you, or it's people that are like their chances and they're hoping you don't realize that they've realized that they have shit. They bought them when they thought they were good, have realized now that they're not, and they're like, I need to get out of this before other people realize they're not good. So they're just spam offering them. But
yes,
we all know what you're doing. We all know that we all know that your 4 cards are rubbish. We know you know it. We're not going to accept it. We're not idiots. Like, go to Pavel like the rest of us. You know what I mean? Like, wait in line at the Pavel DMV, right, to get your license. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you need to do.
I was just looking. This must have been another deal that I had ready for this conversation, and man, this is painful. This was actually a lot worse than I thought it was. So I made this deal, and I wanted to. This goes back to the rewards conversation of like what we value rewards at. So I won that Wakizaka rare, and I won the Assignon rare, the McAllister card I bought. I did this trade for a Gustav Isaacson jersey mint, which is part of the Midtjylland collection that I was doing. When I made this trade, there was like a 90% chance that he was leaving and going to Lazio, where he ended up. So I knew but he was still expensive at the time because he smashed for Midtjylland. And so I made this deal basically value, like I had no use for Wakizaka, who, by the way, for people who are unaware of it, absolutely smashes. Like he is a very good scoring card.
Big fan of Wakizaka.
Yeah. So the Assignon card I had for years, like probably 2 years before, as a reward, was never that great of a reward. So I got rid of that card and then started a Ren collection where I needed the Assignon card.
I was going to say that. I've noticed 2 trades now where you give up Ren cards that would fit your collection now. And I was wondering that. So you started it after you made these trades.
Yes, that's how dumb I am, Ryan.
So you're not dumb, lad. You're just eager. You're just excitable. That's what I say about myself anyway.
I guess. So then I took that Isaacson card and I was like, I think his value is going to tank because his move to Lazio is going to be a mess. And even though the entire market is down, I'm going to take credit that I got this right. That at the time that I got rid of this card, 170, or actually that's probably current floor. It was like around here.
Okay.
On the chart.
That's
fair. Like, actually it probably isn't now. When did I make this deal? August 24th. So it was like here, but I was convinced it was going to go down, even though it was a jersey mint. So what did I do? I included it in a deal to somebody who does not value jersey mints at all in Pavel Trader, along with a U23 goalie who had just become the starter in Japan. And I was like, he's not going to hold up. Another U23 goalie, Chris Brady, who I won. Richarlison, who I won. So I'm like, value is 0. And I don't think I won this gold. Did I buy this one? I didn't mean to click on that either. Hold on. Oh, I did win that one. So 3 rewards. I bought this Nozawa card, I would guess for $50. 87. So $87 plus this Isaacson card that I traded. Like, these things didn't have that much value to me. and I traded for an Adon Super Rare that's just been a disaster since I got it.
You know what I'm noticing, Laird, is that you've won some amazing cards over your time.
That I don't have, yeah.
Like you have like I didn't realize quite how many top tier cards that you just won. Even just the ones we've seen in the trade, Wacky Zaka, Ryan Gould, Chris Brady, like these are big cards.
Yeah. I won Cucho last
You know,
year.
you know that meme, I wasn't familiar with your game. Laird, I was not familiar with your game.
Yes.
That Cucho one I remember actually, because had I played Unastol, that would have been me and you'd have been one place down. But
Ooh.
I played Armani and Armani conceded a penalty. Like he didn't concede the penalty, it just went
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
And that was the only shot that the team had the entire game. It was from a handball. And it wasn't even a handball. The angle was terrible, and they just gave it because they couldn't tell if it was a handball or not.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was like, yeah, it's funny because I had Smile in the same lineup, and Sean ripped. I'm not kidding, ripped me a new one for not playing Unastyle with Smile, and I didn't do it because it was the playoffs for the Europa, whatever it is at the time, and they were away to Sparta Rotterdam, who have a good team. Vita Van Croy was killing it, and they hit the bar in the post, and I almost got it right.
Yeah.
But I didn't play it literally because I was like, they're going to score. They're going to score against Twente. I feel they're going to score. Whereas Armani had a higher clean sheet percentage. But yeah, Sean ripped me an absolute new one
I believe that.
for not playing the goalie next to the defender. And the funny thing was, I also did a little watch along with that one as well. And that was a painful one. I remember doing a watch along at like 1 a.m. watching a River Plate game. And yeah, that didn't end very well.
They're never fun. The Cucho one I sold almost right away, convinced that he was too expensive.
You did well with that one. I actually I remember you selling that, and I was thinking like, he is so good. I'd have kept him, but then I think he actually went on a few games where he didn't score after that as well.
Let's see, June 13th. I'm gonna have to guess when. Here we go.
I say a few games. I think it was like 1 or 2 games. It might have literally been.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
right
yeah. Like two games where he didn't score, and it's funny he didn't score for 2 games, and his value fell off a cliff.
Yeah,
it was crazy to me, and I thought like I actually think I tweeted that out. I think I tweeted it saying like how I don't know what the word was.
reactionary.
Got to be to sell that card after 2 games of not scoring when he was ripping hundreds before that. So
yeah. I don't know how. I mean, obviously, I don't know like how my lineups would have been with him, but I think that God knows what I spent that money on.
You have a rare Messi, right?
I do.
Who cares about Cucho then? who even is that
That's
guy?
how I want to feel. Yeah.
Or let's go with Armani and goal. No, I did go with Armani.
Yeah, he did go with Armani. Yeah,
and
I won Armani too.
I haven't won an Armani. I did actually. I found it funny. I won a Mike Mignon in the summer for coming second place in All Star Rare Pro, and then won him again like 2 weeks ago. And I was like, it would have been, it'd have been interesting if I'd kept that one. I would have had 2 Mignons. And then when France playing international breaks, I just the whale. I'm that guy who's top of both competitions. Like, GG guys.
That's fun. I'm looking back at my transactions. 4 hours after I sold Cucho, I bought Cecina for 2/3 of the price.
And he's getting 35 DAs this season. Confirmed.
At least 35.
At least. Yeah. Unfortunately,
I think it was just goals. He didn't even count the assists.
Unfortunately, he's getting 35 DAs and 0 AA when they don't score any of the games. So unlucky. Those 60-point flat scores are going to be great for you. No, they're 63 because a shot on target. Yeah. GG. Do you think they'll actually so this is completely off topic and not related at all to the show, but do you think that they'll trial the new scorer in full this season? Because didn't they have like back end of last season, weren't they like evaluating scores of a new provider?
Yeah, I don't think they'll have that to be part of the game.
No. Fair enough. I was going to ask if that did happen, would then SorareData have to go and buy the rights to this new provider? That'd be a whole thing, wouldn't it? And that'd be painful. And then you only have that for Kate. Oh, couldn't even imagine the headache. I could not imagine the headache that would cost.
Yeah. I mean, fundamentally, it's just not fair to have like a different provider. And I say that knowing that like the Opta Jupiler guy is significantly worse than the Premier League guy. And so, or apparently the one who was scoring whoever Marlon.
Yeah, Marlon, yeah, he's asleep.
Yeah. So I guess you could make that argument, but I don't know. Or it's one of those things that they implement, like, hey, K League is now this, whoever their official one is, we think it's close enough. And within 2 weeks, we all just forget about it.
True. Maybe they're just a point Hoodwink and Daegu are just ripping hundreds every week and everyone else is getting 0.
Yeah. Yeah, Hannington makes an interesting point. How are we going to play K League rivals? I don't think you will.
No, they probably won't. It's funny you make a point about it being unfair because I actually feel like, especially the Korean community, but the Asian community, speak of Hoodwink, the Asian community themselves, I think, have been quite unfairly treated in general. Because I mean, I know it's not Sorare's fault, but obviously the whole K League stuff with the scores and then them not covering the Asia Cup despite it being bigger than AFCON, it kind of sucks.
So we get a little more of a view into Sorare, into Opta because we're a client of Opta.
Okay.
I am not sure. It's like we've gotten multiple alerts that some of the like warm-up games into the Asia Cup were unable to be scored fully. Like I think there's a possibility that that Opta could not guarantee that every match would be scored.
Yeah, and that's fair.
You then basically just double down on the K League situation of like, hey, we have Asia Cup coverage, we think. And like,
yeah,
which one's better?
That's fair. And like I said, I know it's not Sorare's fault. I just understand why people feel hard done by in that side of the community.
Yes.
Because you also had quite a few games at the end of summer and the start of the new European season where there was no guarantee of full coverage for like Bruges against some team in Eastern Europe or something, or like so. But they still scored those ones. So I do understand the outrage, but I also get that it's not actually Sorare's fault. It's like a rock and a hard place. Like
yes. Yeah,
so,
I think the biggest problem that they had, and again, this was not Sorare's fault, but like there was no notice to the users or even, and maybe not to Sorare of like, oh, by the way, we don't cover the K League anymore. And it was like, wait, what? Like, so
yeah.
I think, yeah, there's nothing they can do about it is the problem. Like there's no reasonable solution other than Opta hacking into a video feed, which is not a reasonable solution.
I have a solution. I think we send Nicholas to every single K League stadium and he can individually score the games himself.
So I'm cool with that.
Especially for rivals. He's just there like on an iPad spamming in all these little passes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think I think that's it. Mike said I think it was Solar Soul tweeted that there are 20 K League games at risk of not scoring because they're on Tuesdays or Fridays where they won't so late in the game week that we won't get A League cards or K League cards, excuse me. Siri said, how can you guys say it's not Sorare's fault? They keep minting K League cards and making money out of it while also not letting players know what is going to happen. So them minting K League cards has nothing to do with whether they can get Opta scoring. And we know this. And so we don't have to pay as much for these cards.
Yeah, it's like it's not so rare. Like it's not so rare that I've stopped the coverage.
Right.
Opta stopped the. That's why I'm saying it's not Sorare's fault. I guess Sorare, like they maybe you can sit there and say they should have found a solution by now, but like that's I guess that's personal opinion and stuff like that. I don't think it's easy to find a solution for these things. Right. But if you truly believe that, that's your prerogative and that's fair enough. But like it is literally not Sorare's fault. They haven't. It's not like they haven't paid a fee or they haven't agreed a deal. Opta are the ones that have got an issue with scoring the K League, and Opta are the official matrix scorers for Sorare. So what can you do?
Yeah. Hedwig was saying they found out the day before the season started.
Yeah.
Which, is just like, that's a bummer. Dream Oblivion, does Sorare cover all leagues at Opta tracks? No, they do not.
Thank God. I don't even know what that means. I'll be honest with you. I don't even know. I don't even have. First, my thought was thank God because if they scored the Saudi league, but even then, like I don't think the Saudi league be any different to China. I used to be really strongly. I used to firmly believe they should never score the Saudi league because it would break the game. But like, having looked at games in the Saudi league and stuff like that, players like it's not like every foreign player rips 100 in that league. Like Ronaldo would be great, you know, Benzema would be great, but like Brozovic sucks, you know. Kante even hasn't been like, you know, he's been pretty decent, but like scores wise, I don't think he'd be insane. Like you can actually see on other apps like duels won, interceptions, all that sort of stuff, and you can see these guys wouldn't be scoring big scores.
Yeah, it's not. Somebody posted the other day, at least the table, like they're not as breaking as any different than the Eredivisie or anything, which we obviously have. But Mike said maybe we'll get full scoring the day before the season starts now. So yeah, who knows? Who knows? Mike Basson, any reason why SorareData now has Saudi club badges? Yeah, because we went out and found them.
Saudi bought SorareData. Yeah, you notice how that's actually now a green screen led's in because he doesn't want to show off the castle that he now lives in from the percentage he got from the deal. Go on, lad, pull the green screen down. Show them the golf course that's outside your window right now on your land. Go on.
I can't. Oh, the Tigers are here. Hold on.
Led now has a chateau in France where he goes for team building exercises. Yeah, they can afford to do that now. They just spend 5 mil on a chateau in France for SorareData. It's like, you know, be nice.
5 mil was the guest house.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Fun. That's all I got. I don't want to go through.
Yeah.
We're not going to top that. Thank you to everybody for coming. If you could please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And tomorrow, SorareData show with PSU fans 2, Gator Guy 231. I'm not sure they've ever done a show together.
Yes, they have. When you've not been here, though. I don't know if all three of you have done one, but they definitely. Keith, I remember, hosted a strategy show whilst you were away where Sean was the guest.
What the fuck? I don't remember that.
Yeah, like the keys months ago. I'm sure of it. Or Sean hosted it limited time only where Keith is one of the two. I'm certain they've done a show together, but you've not been in it.
Sean hosting limited time only seems unlikely.
Or Sean hosting a strategy show where Keith, I can't remember what it was, but I'm sure.
Well, tomorrow, first one I think with all three of us, we're going to talk about rivals and a whole bunch of stuff, including why it might be really broken. We'll see. So Haber, thanks for all of that, and everyone else, good luck this week.